Getting started here. Thanks again for joining us today. This is with the new link. It seems like we got a lot of people on, so don't feel like many people had a problem with the new link that Danielle got all set up. A lot of people registered for it. Looking at our first kind of right now outlook, we do have a severe weather outlook for tonight through. This basically goes through tomorrow morning through 7 a.m. It just shows a marginal risk in that Southwest Mississippi area. This is kind of what I was talking about, that the least confident portion of our forecast. We were looking at a few things over the last couple of hours that do show some of these storms, and I say storms because they may not be tall enough to produce lightning, but you may have heard of us mention down here, call them just spinny showers. They are going to have a lot of rotation with them, very shallow, but given that they're going to have their bases are going to be really low to the ground, it won't take much to possibly drop a tornado or two. That is going to be the potential. These are also the hardest to warn for, as they really won't show up well on radar. And once they do, they're either already on the ground or they're getting ready to lift. So it's going to be something we're going to have to watch really closely overnight. If that's the case, that would begin probably after midnight. It was looking earlier, around midnight would be the beginning, but last couple hours with some of our higher resolution models were coming in. It looks like that maybe pushed back a little bit later, like 2-3 a.m. And then talking with a few of the forecasters here, I think we're kind of leaning also. We expect a slower timing with almost everything right now, but definitely tonight is going to be something to kind of watch to see if we get that. And the biggest concern is going to be kind of that Southwest Mississippi and maybe adjacent parishes in Louisiana. Be after midnight, but the main concern from any of that activity is going to be tornadoes. Really, the damaging wind threat's not as concerned because these are not going to be very deep storms. Definitely not going to be a hail concern tonight because, again, they'll be shallow, but they're going to have a lot of rotation, and we're going to have to watch it really closely on radar tonight. And then we move into the main risk. This is the severe weather outlook for basically Friday. So it's from 6 a.m. tomorrow through 6 a.m. Saturday. So as you can see, most of the areas in that slight risk, again, a lot of that is going to be contingent on what we get to really develop during the day tomorrow and how long that persists into the evening hours, and then how fast the cold front is. If we get a lot of activity tomorrow and it becomes anchored, kind of like we're getting a little bit more worried with, we've been seeing a lot more model runs that kind of show this band of storms capable of severe but really heavy rainfall developing across the area as early as midday tomorrow, but definitely during the afternoon, evening hours. We get a lot of activity in front of the cold front. It would basically take away kind of that severe risk with the front. But until that front does pass, we will have a severe risk. And once it moves through, which right now looks like it would be kind of moving through kind of central portions of our CW, our outlook area. If you bisect us northeast to southwest, probably crossing Hammond and moving into the North Shore and South Shore areas just before sunrise, maybe a little later again, because I think we're all kind of hinging on things being maybe a little bit slower with timing, not necessarily the threat, but just the timing of that front. And then continuing to move through coastal Mississippi. It may not get through coastal Mississippi until the early afternoon hours, the actual front, but we got to keep an eye on that one right now. All modes of severe weather are possible with this system. However, the main threat is going to be damaging winds and a few tornadoes. That is the biggest concern. This doesn't really look like a big hail risk given the setup we got right now. But one of the big concerns, why our confidence is kind of in the mid-range with the severe threat, is the setup doesn't really get a strong push of a system. Like we don't have this distinct disturbance, or you may hear us use the term shortwave, or just any type of real push of anything coming through the area. We stay in what we call just a similar flow throughout the entire event. So things that won't be moving very fast, and without that, a lot of it's going to be really contingent on smaller scale forcing. This is the day 3 outlook. It shows that marginal risk kind of lingering into Saturday. Now, granted, this goes from 6 a.m. Saturday to 6 a.m. Sunday. But it's all, once the cold front passes, the severe threat will end. But as you can see, they've got that marginal risk all the way back to Baton Rouge to Macomb. And again, that is that thinking that things may be slowing down a little bit more, and given the pattern, the flow we have in the mid and upper levels of the atmosphere, that would kind of indicate things maybe being a touch slower than what they were perceived to be yesterday, especially a couple days ago. Again, once that cold front moves through, the severe threat will end, but we will see some lingering showers with it. The excessive rainfall outlook right now, this is the one thing that has definitely been increasing pretty rapidly over the last 24, even 12 hours. It wouldn't be surprising, even with the severe risk, but wouldn't be surprising if there's some kind of, they don't have an enhanced outlook with the Weather Prediction Center's excessive rainfall outlook, but they do have some probabilities that indicate a little bit better chance of some heavy rainfall leading to flash flooding, and that's kind of in that not shaded area, but the area that we kind of highlighted with the hatched outline there across portions of basically between New Orleans and Baton Rouge metros, all of the North Shore, and going in towards South Central Mississippi towards Hattiesburg. If you're outside of our area watching this, we're only going to talk about our region of concern. So don't take that where that hatched area just stops in Lamar and Marion counties, Mississippi. That risk will continue to go further north. We're just highlighting on our area, so please don't let me confuse you if you're watching from outside the area thinking that the risk is only in those areas that we've contoured right there with the dashed line. But that, and across our region of responsibility, this is where the greatest threat for the heavy rainfall. And the reason is because, as I've mentioned already, with the setup we've got, the flow, we could have a line of storms that develop slowly at maybe as early as late tomorrow morning, but probably closer to midday, early afternoon. That will start across southwest, like near the Houma area, just west of Houma, and then move to the northeast. The problem is that they're going to be moving southwest to northeast, and we will get additional storms to develop in that same area. So if you've heard us use the term before, training, that is our concern, is we could get training of thunderstorms. I don't want to get too focused on certain areas. I know that dash line right now cuts through the New Orleans metro, cuts through Baton Rouge. Please understand, a 5-mile shift in either direction could mean significant difference in impacts. So when I go into the next slide, it shows kind of the rainfall. It's, again, remember those rainfall outlooks, they're a little bit more broad brushed. It's an area wide. That's the one going to show that how much it's been ramping up from a standpoint of heavy rain. There is a lot of moisture that is available, and the setup is rather favorable for efficient rainfall, and especially with any thunderstorms. If they're training over the same area, we can get some heavy rainfall in a very short amount of time. So it's something we're going to really kind of keep a close eye on tomorrow, midday beginning. And then the problem is that we could see kind of multiple rounds of storms redeveloping that area throughout the afternoon into the evening. And then again, even the overnight hours ahead of that cold front. So it's just somewhere to watch really closely to try to get a better idea of where that heaviest rain could be. This is that rainfall graphic, what we call QPF, quantitative precipitation forecast. Right now, this is only through Saturday, and that is because the rainfall ends. We're dry Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. As you can see, it's pretty widespread, 2 to 4 inches right now. And if you look at 4 inches, the 3 to 4 inch really contour kind of goes all the way from just north of Thibodeau, through Laplace area, through Ponchatoula, into St. Tammany Parish, and all the way to Poplarville, Mississippi, all of Wall Falls. So that's a very large area of 3 to 4 inches right now. And again, this is area wide, so it's not accounting for where we could get these isolated amounts. And even though we do have a contour there that shows like 4 to 6, we expect, we're going to get widespread 2 to 4 inches. We expect locally higher amounts, up to 6 inches. And then it would not surprise us to get some isolated areas in excess of 6 inches. I know some of the models we've got that only go 48 hours, and they were ending at 6 o'clock Saturday morning, so there was still rain occurring. Some of the models were showing up to close to near 9 inches. So that band, which some of the models, a lot of the models have really been starting to hint on, we're going to have to watch closely, and obviously where it sets up is where we're going to have the greatest risk for heavy rainfall. So areas that don't drain well, of course, any of our more urban areas, or poorly drained areas, like New Orleans, Baton Rouge area, portions of the North Shore, Slidell, Hammond. Not as concerned with coastal Mississippi yet. It looks like everything's going to be just west of y'all, but obviously if this was a little bit further east, places around Gulfport, Biloxi that don't drain well could have a problem. But right now, given what we've got and what we've seen in the trend is kind of more in that hatched area. So even though don't focus, solely on that hatched area right now, because it does kind of cut through New Orleans. I just had to kind of show an area. But if that is, again, if it shifts 5 miles east or 5 miles west, that heavier rainfall could fall over, Baton Rouge, or could fall over New Orleans. So we're going to have to really watch that closely. The efficiency of the rain and the amount, that the time frame that it looks like it could fall, could be very problematic, because it's going to be over a very short time frame. You're looking at about 12 to 18 hours of on and off heavy rain if this band of training storms does develop. This is a very rough, we've always tried to put a timing graphic out. This is something I've been trying to work on over the last hour, trying to get an idea. There's just nothing that really handles this kind of system well, but it was the best thing that I could get with my other forecasters here. Kevin, Hannah, and Jacob and Mike were all kind of really helping me out a lot with this one, trying to get an idea of how we could highlight areas for you to be concerned with, especially with some of the questions we've gotten phone calls for as well. But looking at tonight, again, lowest confidence in our forecast, but there is that risk. It's across Southwest Mississippi and just adjacent parishes of Louisiana. So you're looking at East and West Feliciana, Point Capee area, maybe in the St. Helena, anything west of I-55. As you get east I-55, this little band line of showers, possible, and I say storms, and because there may not be a lot of lightning with them, but they're going to be rotating pretty good tonight. If this does materialize into our area, it may stay just north of us. It'll occur tonight. So probably now it looks like it's going to be slightly after midnight. So we were a little bit worried it was going to be at midnight, but the latest runs have been a little bit slower. But that's that first one on the left. As you get to the main timing, is across almost our entire area tomorrow, but it's really more midday tomorrow and the overnight hours. But trying to kind of just give everybody an idea of what time frame. I think the most confident right now would be the extreme Southeast Louisiana parishes, those coastal areas, and especially coastal Mississippi, that your threat doesn't look as favorable tomorrow afternoon and evening. You're probably more of a concern during the early morning hours, Saturday, and until that cold front comes through. That said, there has been 1 or 2 runs that try to show that the band that I circled, some of that may be a little bit further east, but the good thing is that with the ones that have shown that haven't shown that line to kind of redevelop again and then again. But there is some storms that try to move in. The rest of the area, most of Southeast Louisiana, Southwest Mississippi, even just across the Pearl River into Pearl River County, that is a longer time frame that they could be under the gun, which would be midday tomorrow through most of the overnight hours Friday night. But the one thing I could not show as well, but I did try to type it up in here, is that southwest portion of Mississippi and adjacent Louisiana parishes, kind of the area that we're expecting the possibility of stuff tonight. There could be a lull tomorrow. So you could see storms that develop just off to your east and southeast, so from Macomb to Baton Rouge and southeast of there, to the Pearl River, to New Orleans Metro and Houma, that area that I've highlighted there. Could begin seeing storms late morning, but more so midday throughout the afternoon. But you go northwest of there, could be very isolated, scattered storms, and then you're waiting on the line to move in during the late evening hours, or probably more so after midnight. So it's been really tough trying to give a good idea of timing. But the most confidence we have right now on the timing is going to be that coastal Mississippi, extreme coastal southeast Louisiana, and then that highlighted area where models have for the last 6 to 10, 12 hours have really been focusing on the possibility of these, developing storms midday tomorrow and then training over the same area, not just one line, but as that band moves to the northeast, it redevelops and there's another band of heavy rain, and then we may even get a third one before the front moves through. From a standpoint of hazards as well, you've got, we are expecting a few tornadoes with this. There'll be more than enough shear tonight and even tomorrow. The damaging wind threat is probably greater with the storms tomorrow than it is tonight. And we won't completely rule out hail, but hail is definitely the lower of our concerns with this event. Again, some of these graphics, they aren't finished. I'll have a title on this when I send out the email, but I really wanted to quickly go over this because our focus has been on the severe weather, but because there's stuff going on this weekend and going into next week, and then given the impacts, especially of how warm we have been, we do need to focus on the morning lows and wind chill. So there's no numbers right now on this because the graphics, they don't quite just agree with what the numbers we have over, and it's all because the placement that the graphics that we use is not in exact locations that we have in our system at times. But I just wanted to show kind of the pictures right here, and then our the keys there. But I'll add numbers to these images later when I send out the email to show what the morning lows and the wind chills. But you can see the forecast wind chills on Monday morning when we still have strong winds, which is something I apologize I did not mention. And not that we'll need a wind advisory, but it is going to be windy behind the cold front Saturday afternoon, all day, all night, Sunday night. And then as the colder air moves in Sunday, but the gusty winds are going to continue Sunday night, is why we're going to have these wind chill concerns Monday morning. You can see the the minimum wind chills Monday morning could drop down into the mid-20s for most of the area from the I-10-12 corridor north. But even you look south, it's the graphic, be careful because it's kind of not necessarily smooth by us, but it's not as detailed as it could be. When I was looking at the forecast yesterday and having to provide information to New Orleans, there are areas in there that the wind chill could drop down into the lower 30s Monday morning. But looking at the graphic right now, it shows kind of just a broad brush 30 to 35 across the area, which also includes the Baton Rouge area. But as always, kind of the river parishes, they can cool off a little bit more than the metro does. Coastal Mississippi definitely cools off, especially down the Pearl River and Pascagoula drainage areas. So you can see those wind chill values could be down into the mid-20s. So that's why we could have, again, we could have some of those cold weather advisories that we issue. There will be discussion if we need to issue a freeze warning. Normally for areas along that I-10-12 corridor north, we wouldn't issue any more freeze warnings now, but it has been pretty warm the last couple weeks. So we'll dig in to find out if there's a need to actually issue another freeze warning for some of those areas, given that vegetation may not be dormant in some of those regions. However, looking at down the river parishes, towards Donaldsonville, Thibodeau area, and even maybe as far down as Galliano, our forecast lows are going to be pushing, near freezing Monday morning. So we probably are going to have some cold products Monday morning. Going to Tuesday morning, the biggest thing is the winds relax Monday. So that is a good thing from us from a wind chill standpoint. As you can see on the left, the minimum wind chills Tuesday morning are much warmer, with pretty much all the area above 30 degrees. But especially you go south of the 10-12 corridor, you're looking, it's in the upper 30s to maybe even the lower 40s. Whereas around the 10-12 corridor north, the minimum wind chills would be down in the lower to mid 30s. From a standpoint of the lows, though, it will be a touch warmer, but it's still going to be cold. So we're still going to have temperatures that are probably near freezing, below freezing for the northern half of the area. So that I-10-12 corridor north, expect again another morning of near freezing to below freezing temperatures. To the south, a little bit warmer. The river parishes may be able to stay just warm enough so we can keep that freeze warning out. But we'll have to keep a close eye on it. But Tuesday morning, it's going to be another chilly morning. But the good thing is the winds will be lighter. But we should be a few degrees warmer. So I don't have a summary slide right now. I'm still working on some of the timing stuff, but I will have that on there. But just to kind of really run through everything again, lowest confidence in the forecast is tonight with any of these possible shallow storms developing. If they do, they will be rotating. They will have the capability of producing a really quick tornado or two. They would likely not last very long and don't expect them to be very strong. But then again, even a weak tornado can still bring down a few trees. And in these trees obviously are the bigger problem. They would fall on houses and other stuff. But that is a possibility during the overnight hours tonight. Probably see a little bit of a lull tomorrow morning across most of the area, but especially kind of a northwest portions of our outlook area. But then we do expect things to kind of pick back up around midday tomorrow, kind of in a southwest to northeast fashion across basically the middle of our area. So from Houma northeast towards Hattiesburg, that area could see storms develop. Obviously, any adjustments left or right will definitely mean a difference in the impacts from a rainfall standpoint. We have a slight risk for severe weather pretty much across most of the area tomorrow through tomorrow night. Main concerns are damaging winds and tornadoes. Hail is a lesser concern, but can't rule it out. But the heavy rainfall has continued to increase. We'll have to keep a close eye on it to see if there's any increase to a moderate risk in the excessive rainfall outlook. Right now, their probabilities aren't quite that high, but their probabilities are higher than what just the base slight risk is for them. Widespread rainfall of 2 to 4 inches. Locally, higher amounts are expected. There are even isolated areas. We expect some isolated areas to be in excess of 6 inches of rain. Just where that happens is going to be the bigger concern. If it doesn't happen, we don't get the heavy rainfall over the urban areas, we'll be all right. We are dry. We're in the middle of a D1, D2 drought still. All of our rivers are at base level or lower, so we can handle a lot of rain in some areas. It's just the areas that don't drain fast. So our urban areas is the biggest problem right now if we get the heavy rain. Cold front moves through morning and midday hours. Once it does, severe weather threat will end. And then we cool down and dry off with possibility of some cold weather products Monday morning. Maybe the need Tuesday morning. It doesn't look like it, but definitely Monday morning we'll probably need some cold weather advisories and maybe some freeze warnings. That is all on my end. Apologize for, again, some of the issues right now and the late start. Are there any questions?